Welcome to the Dr. Leadership Podcast, where the DR stands for Driving Results. Our focus is weekly conversations around life and business relationships and the important leadership qualities for both. These concepts and qualities will help you drive positive results in both your business and personal lives. A weekly connection point to help business leaders develop individual contributors, managers, and executives on your teams. We also will tie in concepts around family focus and life lessons to help you drive success in your personal life. Welcome to the Dr. Leadership Show. Let's get after it. Hey, good day, everybody. Welcome to another edition of the Dr. Leadership Podcast, where the DR stands for driving results, right? Yay. I still got buttons. So, hey, last week, hope you're having an awesome day. First of all, got to always bring up, hope you're having an awesome day. So the last week's episode got some really good feedback, but last week's episode was on don't be scared of asking for help. And it's an important attribute for everybody to be aware of. So I hope you gave that a listen. If not, go out and listen to that. It was tying in episode 42 and 43 as well around handling adversity, and then pick your tribe wisely. And those skills are very, very important. Today, I want to jump into a person that's known as one of the best leaders ever. Now, this isn't about personality. This is about leading to results. And Steve Jobs is who I'm going to kind of talk about a little bit today, and some of his insights and outlooks on life. I just think they're good outlooks. And play well for a lot of things around my attitude toward leadership. Not saying I'm Steve Jobs. I'm just saying there's some tie-ins there, and I'll point those out as we go. But please do, give those other episodes a listen. You can find all the episodes out there at our website, www.drleadershipresults.com. Also, I'd love to hear from you. If you did listen to the last couple weeks' episodes, hopefully you got something out of it. If you have positive reinforcement or constructive criticism, send us a note. Would love to hear from you. Say, hey man, can you go a little deeper on this? What are your thoughts on that? I'll call you out. I'll bring you up. Had a great download week last week. So much appreciated for everybody getting up into the big numbers daily, which is so appreciated. Again, this isn't about being famous. This is just about trying to share some outlooks and experiences I've had in my life, and hopefully you're getting something out of it. Every once in a while there's a chuckle. At least I try to be funny. Self-deprecating humor, remember, is a key to success. But I want to dive in. So it was an Inc. article, Inc. magazine that I saw, and first of all, I had to look it up. It's been 12 years. Steve Jobs. It's just, I can't even believe that. It's like we're in this time warp. We all lost 3 years because of COVID, but I wouldn't have guessed it'd been 9 years, even without the COVID years, that Mr. Jobs has been gone from this planet. Very successful guy, right? Founder of Apple, iTunes. Think of everything going on. The iPhones, holy cow, just demands attention, commanding the world's communication, and a lot of great things going on with those products. Make some great products. We're an Apple family. A lot more updates going on in Apple than in the past, though. For years and years, they were so secure. There's a lot more going on, man. The black hats out there in the cyber world are always in front of the white hats. The bad guys are in front of are doing bad things before the good guys figure it out. But just a little commentary. Wasn't even in my notes. Just thought of that as I was sitting here. Had another update last night. It's like, wow, rapid response service security. That's what it was called. Well, I hope your rapid response. Good God. But it's been 12 years. So Steve Jobs, this article, 5 simple things to lead to a happy, successful, and meaningful life. You have my attention. I'm interested in happy, successful, and meaningful life. I hope you are too. Great article, like I said, it's in Inc. magazine this month, written by Jeff Hayden. And I just want to touch on a few of these things. Now, we all can agree that intelligence is centrally helpful in the world today. I mean, if you know more, you can see more, or have experienced more than someone else, you undoubtedly, have an advantage in life, right? Experiences lead to better decision making, having made mistakes in the past, etc., are going to help you. They one time asked Steve, what was the best indication of intelligence? And he said a couple of things. The first one I agree with wholeheartedly, and it's about memory, right? Work on your ability to retain information. If you learn something, retain it. If you've made a mistake, you walked into the ceiling as you run down the stairs of your house, remember that. The other thing he said about intelligence and the difference between people is highly intelligent people, they have a capability to kind of zoom out, to look at things from kind of a bigger perspective, collateral impacts, right? They're able to make connections, air quotes there, between things. I've often spoken about how, I just mentioned it, but I try to think of collateral impacts. And because of what happens, right? Try to think a little bigger picture to help you with these items. So a key to success as a leader or a contributor or in your family, in your neighborhood, whatever, is you got to understand collateral. You got to understand the what ifs, air quotes again. If we, then what? And if item A happens, then what if B happens, right? Don't get paralysis through analysis here. Don't get so worried about outcomes that you don't choose a path, but think about, if I do this, what is likely to be the impacts in other things around it? If you're leading a sales organization and you want to make a holistic transformational change, you better be pretty positive and confident that if you're changing one attribute or aspect of your go-to-business model or strategy, that it doesn't, and has a positive impact, that it doesn't have detrimental impacts on the other side to get a net zero return. You got to make sure that what you're doing isn't going to screw up what someone else is trying to do. You know what I mean? You got to be cognizant of that stuff. How you're able to see these impacts is through having a lot of different experiences, right? We don't make mistakes to be inexperienced. How do you gain experience? You make a lot of mistakes. So again, it's this vicious circle I've talked about before. The key is having the ability, once you've made the mistake, to retain it. I'll give you a couple examples that were easy to retain. When I was about 4 years old, I had a pair of big metal scissors from my mom. I don't know. I was probably running around with scissors in my hand too. Remember, you're not supposed to run with scissors. But I went in and I noticed over there in the wall was an outlet, electrical outlet. And I went over, and like any good, interested and curious kid, took the scissors and stuck it right in the outlet. I did not have to ever do that again to remember those tinglies. Same thing with experiences in life, experiences in work, experiences with your family, with your neighbors. Retain them, good outcomes or bad outcomes. Good ones repeat, bad ones don't repeat. Did anybody touch a hot stovetop when they were young? You don't have to be reminded or told again on that. It was a lasting impact. So take things that you experience in life, good or bad, and make them a lasting experience. Try new things. I've said be able to engage in any conversation at least a little, a couple of times. I pride myself on that. When I'm going through a lot of people read the news, especially in the bubbles we're in politically in this world. If it says Trump bad and I'm liberal, I'm going to read that article. If it says Trump good and I'm liberal, I'm not going to read that article. If it says Biden good and I'm a conservative, I'm not going to read that article. If it says Biden bad, I'm going to read that article. It's human nature. Get out of your bubbles. Engage into something that you don't know well. That's how you get to know it a little bit. Same thing in whatever you do in your business life, whatever you do in your personal life. If you want to get better at something, you have to lean in. take it on. If you want to be good in sales or in leadership, you have to be able to have an innate ability to engage in a lot of different conversations and things in life. I pride myself on having read a lot and voraciously about things I don't understand. If I see an article I don't know anything about, that's the article I'm going to read. I'm going to learn a little bit of something about it. And it is amazing how in the next week's conversations with customers, something always seems to come up, or prospects, about how I can tie that topic in. You become more relevant. Now, relevancy is good in your neighborhood, in your marriage, in your parental relationship, and in your business life. If you're irrelevant or thought of as irrelevant, you're not going to get a lot of game time in life. So become more relevant. See things from a bigger picture, right? Have the ability to bring experiences to bear. Steve Jobs thought that was a number one thing on the list around intelligence. The other thing he talked about having this meaningful life and being successful, he talks about leadership and responsibility. And that's work or personal life. As a contributor or a cog in the system, many times you are able to have an excuse why something didn't get done. And this is Steve's approach here was how he approached people that were moving into leadership for him. He gives a story about a janitor. If you suddenly, the office didn't get clean that the janitor was supposed to clean, the janitor can say, somebody changed the lock, I couldn't get in. Well, as a leader, Steve would pull his people aside and go, you need to understand that there are no excuses or reasons why something went wrong. Once a VP or in a leadership role, you lose that luxury, he states. Being responsible no matter what, and self-accountability are huge. So, what this is really about, if you want to take it away from the business world and look at how to be successful and happy in your life, is just be accountable. Remember, accountability is raising your hand for responsibility, whether the thing was a good thing that happened or a bad thing that happened. You have to be willing to put your neck out to try something, and you also have to be willing to raise your hand if it didn't go well. And if it went well, remember humility. That's how you become awesome. Be humble, be courageous, be responsible, be accountable. These are key attributes in life. Steve Jobs agrees with me. I agree with Steve Jobs is the more appropriate way to put that. Once you're in leadership, man, the excuses go out the window. I actually had a situation happen. I'm not going to name names or anything, and I felt bad for the person. But we had a meeting with our CEO, and a piece of the business isn't going as good as we'd like. So we as leaders have to take it on. And a person gave some feedback to the CEO. And the CEO says, I'm going to give you a lesson I learned from one of my bosses one time. I'm going to take your excuses, and I'm going to put them in my book of excuses. And someday, if I get it published, I'll give you your cut. Whack, right in public. And he's a nice guy, the CEO is. And the person he said it to is a really nice guy too, and I felt bad about it. But it just showed there ain't no cover when you in charge. So move into leadership with caution, I guess. The other thing that Steve talked about, and this is a big one to me, is perseverance. It's a great word, man. Jobs is talking about entrepreneurs here, but it holds true in all aspects of life. So the commentary from Jobs in this interview was about how do some entrepreneurs make it and some don't. And his answer was easy, perseverance. Some people just don't give up, man. Some people, success is very hard, and there's always going to be rough patches. He didn't succeed right out of the gate. Steve Jobs, I certainly didn't. I certainly don't even consider myself having succeeded yet. I got a lot of hurdles to still overcome. The difference of good and or great and not is most people give up. And this is true on anything. Perseverance separates the successful and the unsuccessful. The unrelenting will, W-I-L-L, all caps, air parentheses, exclamation point, is the key differentiator between successful and unsuccessful. Remember, successful people do what unsuccessful people don't want to do or don't like to do. Remember, there are those that are raring to go but can't go for raring. What that means is everybody talks good game until it gets tough. Think of anything you're good at in life. Think of any skill anywhere or talent by anyone. They worked at it harder than others. Period. There's very few, the only exception to this is like a savant. You see, every once in a while you'll catch an edition of 60 Minutes or a news story, Good Morning America, whatever, and they've got the child that is 4 years old, can't see, can't speak, but the first time they ever sit down at a piano, they can play the equivalent of, Bach, Beethoven. That savant capability. The human mind is so powerful. And we just clip along at about 8 to 9% of it. Einstein, they say, was maybe 12, 13% of the capacity. Just think what we could do with 20% capacity, right? Unbelievable. But we're not savants. We're not born with incredible skills. So hard work and perseverance is the key to get the keys to the kingdom. If you want to be really good at something, blood, sweat, tears. That's how you get really good at it. If you want to be a really good father, really good mother, you lean into those chitlins. You get involved with those kids, and you're going to make mistakes. You're going to get angry. You're going to get upset. You're going to say something that you wish you didn't later. That's okay. You have to be cautious as a parent. But you also have to understand that the first time through the rodeo, you ain't going to get it all right. How I parented my second child is different than how I parented my first. How you'd parent your third would be different. We stopped at 2 because I wanted to play man-to-man defense, no zone for me. If there's 3, then somebody's got to keep half an eye on the other one. And that ain't good for me. I need to be focused. Researchers actually studied perseverance, right? And studied outcomes. Really, it wasn't even about perseverance. This study I was looking at when I was doing my research on this article on this podcast episode, they studied college students and grades, and this is so simple, but so we probably spent $1 million on this study. It's like, why do snails walk slowly? The federal government, $3 million. I'm making it up, but that's the type of stupid crap that they invest in. But researchers studied college grades, and the number one determinant. The number one reason of good scores and good grades is really simple. Class attendance. Who'd have thought? Put the work in. It took me a while on that particular topic. I'm going to tell you an ugly story about me. So I went off to the University of Iowa in 1986. Had a grand old time. Moved into the fraternity house as a pledge. Bad mistake. Everyone always wanted to do something other than study. Tell you what, but I was undefeated at the tailgates. I was undefeated at the bar specials. Not proud moments. I learned experiences. I have certain experiences and stories there that are very valuable to me in my business life. I didn't know a stranger, as my mother would say. But not the way to go. I'm talking about the grades. And what's the number one determinant to get good grades? Going to class. I didn't go to class. I can remember sitting at the Vine, name of a nice bar, in the Walking Mall in Iowa City. And one of my best friends comes up, and it was like a Thursday night, right? And there was a math final I had to take the next day. And he knew it. And it was about 8 o'clock, and he goes, "How come you're not studying for your final? Why are you sitting here?" I said, I'm gonna head back in a bit. Hour later, he comes up. I'm at the bar, there again. And when are you going to go home and study? I got a little slurred in my voice by now. I'm having a good old time. I think I'm working on a very attractive set of young ladies from the one of the sororities at the moment. And I said, I'll get to it. He comes up an hour later. Now it's 11 o'clock. Test is at 8 the next morning. And he goes, "Hey, man, when are you going to go home and study?" And I finally turned to him and said, "Listen, dude, I didn't even buy the book at the beginning of the semester. I got nothing to study." I wasn't, true story, God help you. And then I got the note from the president of the university that I wasn't welcome to come back the next semester. the next year. So, that was a fun conversation to have with World War II parents, Ma and Pa. I remember it like it was yesterday, getting it in the mail and going, this can't be good. I knew it wasn't Dean's List notification, let's put it that way. So I was a slow learner on the number one way that the researchers found they get good grades is you go to class. The number one way you get good at selling something or playing basketball or playing golf or pickleball or whatever you want to be good at is you got to put the time in, man. I didn't do that. Dude, I didn't even buy the book. That's how bad it was. That was a hell of a good year, though, for a lot of other reasons. They also asked Steve on starting your own business. And what he mentions is, how do you get through it? And he goes, not everybody needs to be an entrepreneur, but what is good about starting your own business, even if it's just a side hustle, even if it's just, consulting on the side, even if it's me doing this podcast, right? He goes, what you get is you get scar tissue. A good thing in life is to have something you are solely responsible for. There's no excuses. There's no one to blame. Even if it's just a little side hustle. This teaches what? Perseverance. That he said earlier was one of a critical attribute. You got to work through it. You got to understand that life isn't easy. I've said to my kids before, that isn't fair. Fair is where you get cotton candy and corn dogs, man. You ride the rides. That's fair. That's the fair. Life is not fair. You aren't special. None of us are. Your parents think you're special, but to everybody else you aren't. You got to outwork, out-hustle. You got to persevere. The final thing Steve brings up is money. Now, at the age of 25, I think he was worth Yes, it says he was worth $100 million at the age of 25. Whew, that's a pretty good number. Both of them, 25 and 100 million. I probably wouldn't have made it to 30. What he says is this: wealth is not a proxy for intelligence. And believe me, I know plenty of people that because they have money, they think that they are the most virtuous or should be listened to, or they're demeaning to others. It's just, well, I mean, come on. I'm wealthy. Of course I'm right. Let them eat cake. Antoinette. It isn't just a direct association. I know plenty of them with a ton of money who have little to no clue about the realities of the real world and around life. And Steve kind of goes off on this too. He states that at 25, again, worth $100 million, and that did not validate his intelligence. He stated he comes off and says, money doesn't, again, going back to money, doesn't buy happiness, but he goes, my favorite things in life are free. It's an old saying, but he was right. Family's free. Vacate all other items. The happiest you can be are with the simple things. Remember, money doesn't buy you happiness. Attitude is the key to happiness. Money gives you freedom. We've talked about this before. But it doesn't mean that you're going to be happy with it. Look at what has happened to some of these lottery winners. You hear the terrible stories. People come out of the woodworks. Third cousin Jimmy wants you to help him fix his go to a double wide instead of a single wide. There's many sad stories where people win $25, $30 million, and 10 years later, they're bankrupt. There's been suicides around it. Money doesn't bring you happiness. You got to use that money wisely. You got to use self-development, and your ability to find happiness and self-reliance on this needs to lean towards the things that don't require money to make you happy. Now, what he is saying is how you tie it together is try to do something that makes you happy for your living. Not every second of every day, but predominantly. I mean, I love the people I work with. I love my team members. I love this new division that I've been given accountability for because I'm learning experiences. I'm on calls and I'm not the smartest guy I'm never the smartest guy on the call. I don't want that to come across the wrong way, but many times I've had experiences on what I've run for the last several years this new endeavor, I don't have all those experiences. 2 ears, 1 mouth. I'm doing more listening than speaking. And it's important. But make your living doing something that makes you happy. Again, work to live. Don't live to work. Again, that's balance too. But Steve has those key attributes, right? You got to have perseverance. You got to have the will. You got to outwork everybody. You got to not give yourself excuses. You got to let yourself enjoy the ride as you go along. Don't stay in something that makes you miserable forevermore. Don't think things are going to come easy to you just off the top of that. Because you want it to happen, it's not going to happen. You've got to persevere. You've got to work harder. Again, successful people do what unsuccessful people don't like to do. You may not like that statement. Sorry. It's the truth. You may be somebody that really appreciates that statement. You I like, because you're awesome. Keep that shit up. Talk next week.